going on around the table? My name is Excaliber596, and one of my favorite shows on YouTube is Screw Attack's Death Battle. Wiz and Boomstick are fun personas, the fights, animation, and editing is well done, and there's puns! Many of you know how I feel about puns. There's just one major problem that I have with the show, though. The people at Screw Attack are really bad at their jobs. I mean, don't even get me started on Gara versus Toph, because I think that episode actually made me dumber as a human being. I mean, this is who won. And this is the guy who lost. You get what I'm saying here? Now recently Death Battle decided to do an episode on Mario vs. Sonic, and since I'm a video game channel who enjoys power scaling, I figured I'd watch it to see how they did. And man, it was, interesting, to say the least? Okay, so not only did they horribly misrepresent both Mario and especially Sonic, but they did so under the guise that they were using the games as the source material, and then proceeded to not use the video games as the source material. Like, what the fuck even, Death Battle? It's very clear in this episode that they either know nothing about things like canon or are horribly inconsistent with their viewpoints just to make the fight seem more interesting and controversial. I mean, I still love them, but boy oh boy was this a stinker. With all this to think about, I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring to shed some light on some of the things that they either missed, purposely removed, or just got horribly wrong. So this is how I'm gonna handle going through this. I'm gonna go over both of the characters, highlight the mistakes made from Death Battle, and at the end of it all, I'm gonna say who I think should have won the fight and why and how it should have gone. So they started off by doing what's basically a little in this corner, it's a bit in this corner, spiel. And they go over the character's history in case you don't know who Mario or Sonic are at this point, and then they get into the feats. With Mario being the first fighter to talk about, they started off by basically saying that Mario has the ability to use any of his power-ups at any point an unlimited amount of times. I'm actually going to give them some credit here, as I do agree with this statement, as the amount of power-ups in the series, being able to hold up to 36 items in Mario Advanced 4, and the effects of the bottomless gloves from the Mario and Luigi series do allow for this in tandem. However, I think they might be a bit confused as to what counts as a power-up in Mario, mainly about them saying that items such as the many clocks that can be collected throughout the stages that either give him more time or stop time should be considered as power-ups you can equip. This is a bit hard to accept for me, as the common portrayal of a power-up in Mario is an item that causes some sort of effect to happen to Mario himself, rather than his surroundings. Things like the Mega Mushroom or the Lucky Bell, where they either do something to his body or give him a costume. So I would hardly consider these fucking clocks to be power-ups. Then they went on to reference Mario throwing a dinosaur out of the orbit in the Mario cartoon as a usable feat, even though they said that they'd only use the games, with Boomstick even commenting on it only for Wiz to basically say, well, it's a Mario thing with lots of Mario characters, and it's also part of Mario history. And we can't just ignore a huge portion of the character's history, can we? I don't know if you know about this, Screw Attack, but there's this thing called canon. You know, the games reference each other's storylines to prove their places in an actual timeline, right? And that the cartoon is not referenced anywhere in the series, so it's not supported by any of the games. Like, I honestly doubt you guys even understood that the Mario Kart and Mario Sports games are canon to the series, cause, you know, that would require research, but it just kind of worked out for you, so I can't deny the things that you're saying about Mario surviving an explosion or throwing a ball the speed of like 1,000 miles per hour. Then they just kind of glossed over Mario's best feat, which is defeating Bowser after he's tanked a point-blank supernova-level explosion and a galaxy-level black hole in Mario Galaxy, giving him at least galaxy levels of power. But I guess you can't put a big number on the screen for that, so why would they go into it, right? Next they went into Sonic, and yeah. Okay. They did my man Sonic bad here. The first thing they did was allow Sonic to use his power-ups, including the Wisps. Now, I understand the reason as to why they would do this, cause hey, Mario can use his power-ups, so we should let Sonic use them too. But the problem that I have with that is that there is actual evidence to support that Mario can use his power-ups at any time with his inventory and bottomless gloves. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen Sonic carrying any Wisp or power-up boxes on his back throughout a game. I mean, there are equipable skills in Sonic Generations where Sonic gains special abilities like the Fire and Bubble Shields in exchange for about 100 points, but the skill of being able to turn into Super Sonic costs all 100 points to activate, so it's unlikely that he would have any other skills. Later on in Sonic's section, they go on to talk about some of Sonic's strength feats, with a lot of them being non-canon, of course, like resisting the mind control of the Overmind in Sonic Chronicles, and once again going to a cartoon feat from the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I don't even understand how this one is closely tied to the games. Like, where the hell is this chick from the Sonic games? I've never seen her, have you? Oh, and I guess the president lost a bit of weight since the classic days. Good for you, Mr. President. Now get off your ass and bring me back my healthcare. And now for the Sonic argument of the goddamn century. Sonic has yet to prove that he's faster than light in canon. Ugh. First of all, now you understand that canon is important to measuring a character's strength? Where was this when you allowed people to think that this was canon? Like, I understand Boomstick being drunk, but Wiz, you need to go home and rest a while, man. You got something in you. Second of all, while they did acknowledge the scene of Sonic stroking himself, saying that he's faster than light, they decided to completely ignore what caused the conversation in the first place, where E123 Omega, a robot made by the smartest man in the entire series, calculated Sonic's speed after watching him and stated straight up that if Sonic continued to accelerate, the speed of light would be exceeded. They also said that he couldn't reach these speeds without the Lightspeed shoes and the Ancient Light, but they never took into account that today's modern Sonic is much stronger and faster than the Dreamcast Sonic that gets the equipment. This is very clearly shown in canon when modern Sonic is able to take on perfect chaos in his base form, where Dreamcast Sonic needed his super form in order to beat him the first time. In fact, it's even expressed in gameplay to an extent. In Sonic Unleashed and many subsequent games where Sonic uses the Lightspeed Dash, he actually goes slower using the Lightspeed Dash than he does when running. And for anyone who says it's just for gameplay reasons, back in the Dreamcast days, Sonic is actually going faster than the Lightspeed Dash than he is when running. Now, that one's a bit of a stretch, I'm willing to admit, but there's also the official statement in the 2014 Interactive Annual that adds to my point. Then they go on to use Sonic not being able to outrun a pseudo-black hole in Sonic Colors as a reason for Sonic being really fast, but not light speed. Now, while I do agree that this is not necessarily a black hole, and thus Sonic surviving it shouldn't count as a black hole level feat, but it was some type of singularity created by Hyper-Gohan energy. For those of you who may not know, in the audio files for Sonic Colors, there exists a voice clip from Eggman saying that Hyper-Gohan energy surpasses that of even the Chaos Emeralds. Now, the voice clip was never used in-game, which means the writers may have decided to change their minds and thus this statement shouldn't be taken as true, but this makes it clear that the writers meant for Hyper-Gohan energy to be comparable to that of the Chaos Emeralds. This statement is also supported in-game when, again, Hyper-Gohan energy is what creates the black hole, but also when the Wisps stop the black hole, teleport the Wisp planets across the universe, where have I heard that before, and the fact that Nega Mother Wisp, the creator of the Wisp planets and Hyper-Gohan energy itself, is comparable to Supersonic in power. So it's kind of hard to calculate exactly how good this feat is. It could be as powerful or even more powerful than a normal fictional black hole, but either way, Sonic not being able to outrun it doesn't prove that Sonic isn't faster than light. Now, before anyone adds into the comments that he's fast enough to break time in Generations, I want you to calm down a bit, as it should be noted that Eggman meant to undo his past mistakes by pulling the stages into a frozen time limbo. Sonic running through these stages isn't him going so fast that he's fixing time, it's more like he's pressing the redo button by going through the stages again, fixing the timeline. However, he does go fast enough with the Rookie and Sonic Forces to break through the walls of a pocket dimension created by Infinite, a character shown to be much more powerful than Sonic. So take these facts as you will. Screw Attack then goes on to talk about Super and Hypersonic, but I'm gonna wait on that for now, because trust me, I got something to say about that. Finally, we get into the actual fight. Now, I'm not just gonna beat Sonic's meat here and say that he stomps Mario with no difficulty. In fact, I believe that in a base-to-base fight, even if you gave Sonic his power-ups like the shields and the wisps, Mario would leave Sonic in a bloody pile of quills, chili, and processed pig meats. As I said before, Mario has commonly taken on a villain who survived a supernova and galaxy-level black hole at point-blank range. He's also reacted to things faster than the speed of light after being shot out of the star launchers in Mario Galaxy, so reacting to an even faster-than-light Sonic is not completely out of the question. Sonic, however, has more consistently shown himself to be less powerful in his more recent games, mainly when going up against Perfect Chaos, the Egg Robo, and Infinite. Perfect Chaos and the Egg Robo have shown themselves to be around Moon level, as both of them are stated to be life wipers. Perfect Chaos being stated by Tikal to have wiped out the Knuckles clan, who were the dominant species on the planet at the time, and the Egg Robo literally absorbing the entire Earth's life energy. And then Infinite is shown to be even stronger by completely dicking on Sonic in the beginning of the game, and later using the full power of the Phantom Ruby to casually summon a star to kill the Resistance, while also summoning hundreds of moon-level beings like Shadow and Zavok. And then throwing in Base Metal Sonic and Chaos Zero, because fanservice, I guess. This puts Infinite at around large star level, with Sonic never being able to beat him until the end of the game, where it's stated earlier that Sonic has gotten stronger, but also had the help of the Rookie. This puts base Sonic at around star level, making him massively less powerful than Mario. Even if you want to wank Sonic to Galaxy level with him surviving the Hyper Go-On Black Hole, it's still overtaken by the fact that Bowser took his Black Hole at point-blank range, where Sonic was caught at the tail end of it before knocking him out. I also agree with the idea that Sonic's ability to use Chaos Control doesn't really matter in this fight, as it's not within Sonic's character to use Chaos Control in combat like Shadow does. Now, I still would have had a problem with the way both characters were represented, but if this was how the fight went down, I would have been absolutely fine with the actual result of the fight. But Screw Attack made one big mistake. They messed with Supersonic and Hypersonic. Oh boy, did they lowball Supersonic in this. First of all, they said that Supersonic isn't faster than light because of his description on a Smash trophy. Super Smash Bros. Not only being not canon to any franchise but its own, but they also portrayed Sonic as being stronger than Mario in his base form, as Sonic was the only character able to damage Taboo on his own in that game. And I'll get to that someday, don't you guys worry. Second of all, their excuse for Supersonic not being universal is that Sonic beating fourth-dimensional beings like Solaris and the Time Eater doesn't count by basically claiming that their universal abilities are just hacks. While I suppose I can see this view about the Time Eater if you really want to lowball Supersonic, Solaris is, in as close to a literal and scientific sense as a game can portray a fourth-dimensional being. He exists in all planes of time, including the past, the present, and the future, and as stated by Eggman, can casually consume entire universes. That's not just a hacks ability that Solaris has, he's just literally that powerful. Now, many people see Solaris and the Time Eater as an outlier and refuse to believe that Supersonic is that powerful. But in actuality, they're not the only universal threats that Supersonic ever faced. In both Sonic Rush games, both Eggman and Eggman Nega's goal was to combine both Sonic and Blaze's dimensions and rule over them, with the final bosses of both games being the Egg Salamander and the Egg Wizard, being very capable of doing so with the power of the Soul Emeralds and the Jeweled Scepter respectively. This makes both of these mechs universal plus and possibly higher, and Supersonic, with the help of Blazing Blaze, is able to take them on, making Supersonic at least universal in strength. Now, I can already hear the typing in the comment section about how Sonic needed help with a planet-level perfect Dark Gaia, so I'm gonna smack that argument with a few simple points. First, a question. What did Dark Gaia, in a form basically less than his base, do as soon as he awakened? Go ahead. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, he turned off the Chaos Emeralds, that's right! Sonic needing help with Dark Gaia does not affect Supersonic's standing, as Dark Gaia's very appearance was enough to drain the Chaos Emeralds of all their power. Do you really think that being around that anti-meta of Chaos Energy had no effect on Supersonic whatsoever? Second of all, there have only ever been 2 characters in the entire series that have ever been able to damage Supersonic. The first one being Solaris, the fourth-dimensional being I mentioned earlier, and Dark Gaia, who has shown the ability to weaken the Chaos Emeralds. And finally, the Wii and PS2 versions of the game have Supersonic taking on Dark Gaia alone, and in the Xbox and PS3 versions, he literally one-shots Dark Gaia as soon as he takes the shield down and saves Chip from taking a Hyper Beam to the face. And all of these feats are just supersonic. But Screwtech decided to lowball Sonic even further by saying that even Hypersonic couldn't even beat Mario. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hypersonic is a transformation beyond Supersonic in Sonic 3 and Knuckles when he absorbed the Super Emeralds, an evolution of the Chaos Emeralds after being given energy by the Master Emerald. Now, it's a little bit hard to find out exactly how much more powerful Hypersonic is than Supersonic because the Super Emeralds have only ever appeared in one game, so it's kind of difficult to find some concrete evidence. However, there is a boss in Sonic 3 and Knuckles known as Mecha Sonic who absorbs energy from the Master Emerald to transform into something akin to a super form multiple times during the fight. Assuming that this is a super form, as his armor plating turns gold, he can't be damaged in this state, and only stays for a small amount of time, we can assume that the Master Emerald has energy far beyond that of a full set of Chaos Emeralds. Seeing that the Super Emeralds get their power from the Master Emerald, Sonic should be able to go into his super form from using a single Super Emerald as well, meaning that Hypersonic is basically Sonic gaining 7 supersonic multipliers. The minimum amount of energy theorized to be star levels of power is about 136 tenatons of TNT, and universal levels of power is over 16 quintillion tenatons of TNT, basically making the Chaos Emeralds a 119 quadrillion times multiplier, and Sonic is getting that multiplier 7 times, giving the Super Emeralds a 3.5 untrigintillion times multiplier. And this was just assuming the idea that Sonic is universal from the Sonic Rush series, and I didn't even factor Solaris into the calculation. Factoring Solaris and the Time Eater's low multiversal capabilities, it can be assumed that Hypersonic could have high 4th dimensional levels of power. But Excalibur, Mario has like a power star thingy that makes him invincible and immune to damage, so Hypersonic can't hurt him because he's so awesome and cool. Well, first of all, Sonic has an in-game power-up like this that is supposedly less powerful than Supersonic. Also, even if that wasn't the case, there can be differing levels of invulnerability in fiction, just like there are in multiple levels of infinity. For example, in Dragon Ball Super, Goku goes Ultra Instinct Almond for the first time and shook an infinite realm, showing that he has infinite 4th dimensional levels of power. Yet Jiren was still able to match him with low difficulty when theoretically both of them should have been infinite and thus at the same level of strength. So even if something says it's invulnerable, they still have to prove how invulnerable they are. And Super and Hypersonic have shown themselves to be able to withstand far more than anything Mario has when using the Superstar. Saying that either Mario or Sonic are immune to damage when using these abilities is something called a no-limits fallacy, which means you're basically saying that while the Superstar or Supersonic is active, they can survive anything that anyone can throw at him ever without any evidence to say otherwise, and that's something that sheep do. Don't be a sheep, people. Don't be a sheep. Bottom line, Sonic should have destroyed Mario as soon as he transformed into Supersonic, and should have completely obliterated the sorry excuse for a plumber when he turned into his hyper form, and Death Battle just wants your views, which I'm still gonna give them because their actual content is really nice and fun to watch and discuss. That'll be about all for today's video. I hope you like my reasonings and learned a few things along the way, and I'm not trying to throw any shade at Death Battle here. I actually do like their content and they seem like nice guys. I just thought it would be a fun topic to discuss. Make sure you like, share, comment, ring the bell button, and subscribe. And I will call you guys for the next count. Later.